The fall of Centu Prime. Fleet Admiral Derek Thompson stared at the holographic display, his jaw clenched as the last Alliance battleship erupted in a silent explosion. The Zenra fleet, a swarm of sleek black vessels, advanced relentlessly toward Earth. Humanity's home world hung vulnerable in the void, its defenses shattered. "Admiral, we've lost Centu Prime," his executive officer reported, voice tight with barely contained despair. "The Zenra have broken through our final line." Thompson's fists clenched at his sides. Years of conflict, countless lives lost, and now it all came down to this moment. The Galactic Alliance, a coalition of humans and alien races united against the Zenra Empire's tyranny, teetered on the brink of annihilation. "Send the evacuation order," Thompson commanded, his tone grim. "All remaining ships are to fall back to Europa base. We regroup there." As the remnants of the human fleet limped away from the massacre at Centu Prime, Thompson's mind raced. How had it come to this? The Zenra technological superiority had proven overwhelming, their weapons tearing through Alliance shields like paper. Hours later, on Jupiter's icy moon Europa, Thompson strode into the hidden base's war room. The Alliance Council, a collection of haggard representatives from a dozen species, fell silent as he entered. The weight of impending doom hung heavy in the air. "Ladies, gentlemen, honored representatives," Thompson began, his voice echoing in the cavernous chamber. "I won't sugarcoat this. We're out of options. Earth is next, and we lack the firepower to stop the Zenra advance." Murmurs of despair rippled through the assembly. Then a slender figure rose from the shadows, Nora, the Brunal diplomat, her iridescent skin shimmering under the harsh lights. "There may be one last hope," she said, her melodic voice cutting through the gloom. "An ancient warship of unimaginable power, hidden on a forgotten world." Scoffs and dismissive waves met her words. "Folklore and fairy tales," growled the Krogan representative. "We need real solutions, not myths." Thompson raised a hand, silencing the room. "At this point, we can't afford to dismiss anything. Nora, tell us more." The Brunal's eyes gleamed as she spoke of the Precursors, an extinct race whose technology defied comprehension. She described a planet called Ether, lost to time in uncharted space, where this legendary vessel supposedly lay dormant. "It's a fool's errand," the Solarian counselor protested. "We should focus on evacuation, not chasing ghosts." Thompson's fist slammed on the table. "And go where? There's nowhere left to run. If there's even a chance this ship exists, we have to take it." After hours of heated debate, the council reluctantly approved a covert mission. Thompson wasted no time assembling his team, the best of the best pulled from every corner of the Alliance. Their ship, the last functional stealth vessel in the fleet, hummed with nervous energy as final preparations were made. As Thompson boarded, a junior officer rushed up with a datapad. "Sir, urgent intelligence update. The Zenra have begun systematically conquering Alliance worlds. Earth is next on their list." Thompson's expression hardened. "Then we'd better not fail. Pilot, initiate launch sequence." The stealth ship slipped away from Europa under cover of a diversionary attack, threading through the Zenra blockade like a phantom. As they prepared to jump to hyperspace, Thompson addressed his crew. "I won't lie to you, this mission is our last shot. If we fail, Earth falls, and with it, the entire Alliance. But I've seen humanity pull off the impossible before, and I believe we can do it again today. We carry the hopes of every free being in the galaxy. Let's make them proud." With a flash of energy, the ship vanished into hyperspace, bound for Ether and the slim chance of salvation that awaited them there. The ship emerged from hyperspace with a violent shudder, the swirling colors of faster-than-light travel giving way to the stark blackness of real space. Admiral Thompson steadied himself against a nearby console, his eyes fixed on the main view screen. Before them loomed Ether, a world shrouded in mystery and hidden from the galaxy for millennia. Its surface was a kaleidoscope of purples and blues, obscured by thick, roiling clouds that sparked with strange energies. "Sensors are having difficulty penetrating the atmosphere," reported Lieutenant Commander Hiroshi Tanaka from his station. "There's some kind of interference." Thompson nodded grimly. "Take us in, nice and easy." As the stealth ship descended through Ether's turbulent atmosphere, the entire vessel began to shake violently. Alarms blared throughout the bridge as the ship's systems struggled to compensate for the unexpected forces buffeting them. "Stabilizers at maximum." Tanaka shouted over the din, his face a mask of concentration as he fought to keep the ship level. "We've got debris incoming." Through the view screen, Thompson watched in awe as massive chunks of what appeared to be ancient technology hurtled past them. The twisted remnants of long-dead machines glinted in the eerie light filtering through the storm clouds. "Evasive maneuvers," Thompson ordered, gripping his seat tightly as Tanaka expertly weaved the ship through the metallic obstacle course. A particularly large piece of debris suddenly loomed before them. Tanaka yanked hard on the controls, sending the ship into a stomach-churning roll. They missed the jagged hulk by mere meters, the proximity alarms screaming in protest. As they broke through the lower atmosphere, the sensors finally began to function properly. "Sir, I'm detecting a massive energy signature," Tanaka called out. "It's coming from a crater about 50 kilometers to the northeast." "That has to be it," Thompson muttered. "Take us down, Commander. Find us a landing zone as close to that crater as you can." The ship descended through the last layer of clouds, revealing a landscape that took their breath away. An alien metropolis stretched out beneath them, its towering structures built of a material that seemed to shift and shimmer in the planet's dim light. At the center of it all was an enormous crater, like a scar carved into the face of the city. Tanaka's expert piloting brought them to a smooth landing on the outskirts of the crater. As the ship's engines powered down, an eerie silence fell over the bridge. Thompson wasted no time. "All right, people, this is it. We're splitting into 2 teams. I'll lead the ground team with Nora, Sergeant Rodriguez, and Corporal Volov. Lieutenant Commander Tanaka, you're in charge of shipside operations. Keep the engines hot and be ready for immediate evac if things go sideways." As the ground team made final preparations in the airlock, Thompson addressed them one last time. "Remember, we're likely walking into automated defenses that have been active for millennia. Stay alert, stay together, and for the love of all that's holy, don't touch anything unless Nora says it's safe." The airlock hissed open, and they stepped out onto the alien world. The air was thick and had a metallic taste, but their suit filters quickly adjusted. 2 moons hung low in the purple sky, casting long shadows across the ruined landscape. By the stars, Nora breathed, her iridescent skin reflecting the otherworldly light. "It's more incredible than I ever imagined." They made their way toward the crater, each step kicking up fine, glittering dust. The ruins around them were a testament to a civilization of unimaginable advancement. Massive structures of the opalescent material towered overhead, their purpose a mystery lost to time. As they neared the crater's edge, Nora consulted her scanner. "The energy readings are off the charts. Whatever's down there, it's incredibly powerful." Sergeant Rodriguez, bringing up the rear, suddenly called out, "Movement at R6." The team whirled around, weapons at the ready, but instead of an enemy, they saw shimmering holograms flickering to life around them. Strange symbols danced in the air, accompanied by an urgent repeating tone. "It's some kind of warning system," Nora said, her translator working overtime to decipher the alien script. "I recognize some of these symbols from Precursor artifacts I've studied, but the full message is beyond my understanding." Before Thompson could respond, the ground beneath their feet began to tremble. With a series of mechanical groans, weapon emplacements rose from hidden compartments in the rubble-strewn ground. "Take cover!" Thompson shouted as the first plasma beam lanced out, narrowly missing Corporal Volov. The team scrambled for shelter behind a fallen pillar as more beams crisscrossed the area. Rodriguez wasn't quite fast enough, a beam grazing his armor and leaving a smoking furrow. I'm all right, the sergeant grunted, checking his suit's integrity. Armor took the brunt of it. Pinned down by the relentless barrage, Thompson studied the pattern of the attacks. There was a rhythm to it, a sequence that repeated every few seconds. I think I see a way through, he said, formulating a plan. Volov, I need suppressing fire on my mark. Nora, you're with me, we're going to make a run for that structure at the center. Rodriguez, cover R6. Thompson waited for a lull in the barrage, then shouted, now. Volov leaned out from cover, his pulse rifle spitting energy bolts at the nearest emplacements. Thompson and Nora sprinted forward, weaving between the deadly beams in a desperate dash for the central structure. They reached the entrance, diving through just as another volley of plasma fire scorched the ground behind them. Inside, they found themselves face to face with an ancient control panel, its surface covered in the same shifting symbols they'd seen outside. Nora immediately set to work attempting to interface with the alien technology. It's not responding to any of my usual override sequences, she said, frustration evident in her voice. The sound of weapons fire intensified outside. Rodriguez's voice crackled over the comm, Sir, we can't hold this position much longer. Thompson looked at the panel, then at Nora. In a moment of desperate inspiration, he placed his hand directly on its surface. To everyone's astonishment, the panel hummed to life beneath his touch. The holographic displays flickered and changed, the alien script now interspersed with recognizable human writing. How did you? Nora began but was cut off as the defense systems abruptly powered down. A deep rumbling filled the air, and the team watched in awe as a massive door began to slide open in the side of the structure. Soft blue light spilled out, bathing them in its ethereal glow. Tanaka to ground team, the lieutenant commander's voice came through their comms. We're picking up multiple contacts entering the system. Zenra ships closing fast. Thompson's expression turned resolute. They'd found what they came for, but now the real race began. Could they unlock the secrets of this Precursor warship in time to save Earth, or had they come all this way only to fail at the final hurdle? As if in answer to his unspoken question, the massive shape of the legendary vessel began to take form in the cavernous chamber before them, its systems slowly awakening after eons of slumber. The sight was awe-inspiring, a testament to the technological prowess of a long-vanished civilization. By all the stars, Nora whispered, her eyes wide with wonder. Thompson snapped out of his reverie, the urgency of their situation rushing back. Everyone on board now, he commanded, ushering his team into the ancient vessel. As they entered, the ship's interior seemed to stretch impossibly far, defying the laws of physics. Corridors lined with pulsating blue energy conduits sprawled out before them, and holographic displays flickered to life as they passed. The first part of their impossible mission was complete, but the true test still lay ahead. As the Zenra forces closed in on Ether, Thompson knew that the next few hours would determine not just their fate, but the fate of Earth and the entire Alliance. The real battle was about to begin. Awakening the ancient power. The Precursor warship's bridge was unlike anything Thompson had ever seen. Crystalline structures pulsed with internal light, and holographic displays shimmered in impossible configurations. At its center stood an ornate command chair, its surface etched with intricate patterns that seemed to move of their own accord. Rodriguez, Volov, secure the entrance, Thompson ordered. We can't risk the Zenra finding us before we figure out how to operate this thing. The two soldiers nodded, taking up defensive positions near the ship's entrance. Meanwhile, Nora immediately set to work on the alien controls, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces as she attempted to decipher their purpose. This technology is remarkable, she muttered, her brow furrowed in concentration. The computational architecture is organic, almost alive. It's adapting to our presence. Thompson was drawn to the command chair, feeling an inexplicable connection to it. The same sensation he'd experienced with the external control panel returned, stronger now. Without hesitation, he lowered himself into the seat. The moment he made contact, the chair reclined smoothly, and a neural interface activated with a soft hum. Thompson gasped as his mind merged with the ship's systems. A torrent of information flooded his consciousness: images, technical specifications, tactical data, and fragments of an ancient war that had scarred the galaxy. Through the neural link, Thompson witnessed the rise of the Precursors, their battles against an implacable enemy known as the Void Harbingers, and the creation of this vessel, the Starweaver, as their ultimate weapon. But there was something else, something hidden beneath the surface of these memories. "Admiral." Nora's voice seemed distant. "Your neural patterns are destabilizing. The interface wasn't designed for human physiology." Thompson barely heard her. In his mind's eye, he saw a vast network of Precursor installations scattered across the galaxy: weapons platforms, shield generators, and something called the Nexus Key. Each facility contained a piece of a larger puzzle, a safeguard against their technology falling into the wrong hands. With tremendous effort, Thompson pulled himself back from the brink of being overwhelmed. His consciousness settled into a manageable connection with the ship's systems, though the strain left him drenched in sweat. "I'm all right," he managed, his voice hoarse. "And I know how to operate the ship. But there's more at stake here than we realized." Before he could elaborate, Tanaka's voice crackled through their comms. "Admiral, the Zenra fleet has entered the atmosphere. Multiple capital ships on approach, including a dreadnought." Through the ship's sensors, Thompson could see the enemy vessels descending through ether's clouds like giant predators. Their black hulls absorbed the planet's purple light, making them appear as holes in reality itself. "Everyone strap in," Thompson commanded. "This is going to be interesting." Using his neural connection, Thompson initiated the Starweaver's launch sequence. The ancient engines roared to life, sending tremors through the vast chamber. Debris cascaded from the ceiling as the vessel rose from its millennia-long slumber. "Admiral," Nora called out, her voice urgent. "I'm detecting massive power fluctuations throughout the ship. The reactor core is cycling up, but the containment fields are unstable." Thompson delved deeper into the ship's systems, finding the problem. The Starweaver's quantum reactor had been dormant for so long that its startup sequence was dangerously imbalanced. If they didn't stabilize it quickly, the resulting explosion would vaporize half the continent. "Nora, I need you to reroute power from the auxiliary systems to the containment grid," Thompson instructed. "Rodriguez, Volov, get to engineering. You'll find a bank of crystalline cylinders. When I give the word, you need to remove the third and sixth ones simultaneously." As his team rushed to execute his orders, Thompson used the neural interface to begin emergency protocols he somehow knew by heart. The ship's AI core, dormant for eons, stirred to life under his guidance. "Zenra vessels opening fire," Tanaka warned. "Impact in 5 seconds." The first salvo of enemy fire struck just as Thompson managed to raise the Starweaver's shields. The ancient barrier technology sprang to life, deflecting the Zenra weapons with ease. But the strain on the still stabilizing reactor was immense. "Now!" Thompson commanded. In engineering, Rodriguez and Volov pulled the crystals as instructed. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then the reactor core pulsed with brilliant blue light, and the ship's systems surged with clean, stable power. "By the ancestors," Nora breathed, watching as dormant systems across the vessel awakened. "The power output, it's beyond anything in our database." Thompson wasted no time. Through his neural link, he engaged the Starweaver's drive systems. The massive vessel rose gracefully from its resting place, shedding centuries of accumulated debris. As they breached the surface, the full might of the Zenra fleet waited for them. "Multiple targeting locks," Tanaka reported. "They're coordinating their fire." Dozens of energy beams lanced out from the Zenra ships, converging on the Starweaver's position. But Thompson had already seen the attack pattern through the ship's predictive combat systems. With impossible agility for a vessel of its size, the Starweaver twisted through the barrage, emerging unscathed. "Let's show them what this ship can do," Thompson said, his voice steady as he interfaced with the weapons systems. The Starweaver's response was devastating. Beams of coherent light, so intense they appeared solid, lashed out at the Zenra fleet. The first volley caught them completely off guard, cutting through their shields like they didn't exist. 3 enemy cruisers erupted in silent explosions before their commanders could even register what had happened. But the Zenra were nothing if not adaptable. Their remaining ships quickly dispersed, adopting new formations designed to minimize the effectiveness of the Starweaver's weapons. The massive dreadnought moved to the fore, its hull crackling with dark energy. "Sir," Tanaka's voice was tense. "The dreadnought is powering up its main gun. Energy readings are off the scale." Through the neural interface, Thompson accessed the Starweaver's tactical database, searching for countermeasures. What he found instead was something far more significant and troubling. "Nora," he called out, "I need you to access the ship's historical archives. Search for anything related to the Void Harbingers and something called the Nexus Key." As Nora worked, Thompson engaged in a deadly dance with the Zenra fleet. The Starweaver's maneuverability was incredible, but the sheer number of enemy ships made it impossible to avoid all their fire. Impacts rattled the ancient vessel as some shots got through. "Shields at 82% and holding," Nora reported. Then her voice changed. "Admiral. I found something. The Void Harbingers, they're not extinct. According to these records, the Precursors didn't defeat them. They sealed them away using the Nexus Key, a network of containment facilities spread across the galaxy." "And let me guess," Thompson said grimly, executing a barrel roll to avoid the dreadnought's main gun. "Those facilities are the same ones I saw in my vision." "Yes, but there's more. The containment is failing. The Precursors knew it would eventually, which is why they left the Starweaver as a failsafe. But we need to find and activate all the facilities to reinforce the seal, or—" She didn't need to finish. Thompson could see it in the historical data flowing through his neural link. The Void Harbingers were entities of pure entropy, capable of unmaking reality itself. The Zenra were a terrible threat to the galaxy, but they were nothing compared to what would happen if the Harbingers broke free. A massive energy spike from the dreadnought interrupted his thoughts. This time, there was no avoiding the attack. The black beam struck the Starweaver dead center, and for a moment, it seemed as though reality itself bent around the point of impact. "Shields down to 45%. Nora shouted. "Another hit like that." Thompson made a decision. They couldn't win this fight, not yet. The Starweaver was powerful, but they had barely scratched the surface of its capabilities. And now they knew there was something far worse than the Zenra waiting in the wings. "Tanaka, transmit everything we've learned back to Alliance Command," Thompson ordered. "Nora, I need coordinates for the nearest Precursor facility. We have to find the Nexus Key components before either the Zenra or something worse beats us to it." As Nora worked, Thompson engaged the Starweaver's most powerful weapon, not to destroy the Zenra fleet, but to cover their escape. A pulse of quantum energy erupted from the ship's bow, temporarily disrupting the fabric of spacetime itself. In the confusion, Thompson activated the hyperdrive. The Starweaver vanished from Ether's orbit, leaving behind a baffled Zenra fleet and a mystery that had just become far more complex. They had found their weapon against the Zenra, but in doing so, they had stumbled upon an ancient conflict that threatened not just Earth or the Alliance, but the entire universe. As the ship streaked through hyperspace, Thompson addressed his crew. "I know this isn't what we expected to find. Our mission was to save Earth from the Zenra, and we will. But now we have a bigger responsibility. The Precursors left this ship for a reason, and we're going to finish what they started." The neural interface hummed with data, showing him glimpses of the facilities they needed to find. Each one would be a challenge to reach, heavily defended by both ancient security systems and, undoubtedly, the Zenra once they realized what was at stake. But as Thompson studied the tactical displays, he felt something he hadn't experienced since before the fall of Centu Prime: hope. The Starweaver was more than just a powerful warship. It was the key to understanding the true nature of the conflict that shaped their galaxy, and possibly the only thing standing between existence itself and total annihilation. "Set course for the Andromeda Rift," he commanded. "If the Precursor records are correct, that's where we'll find the first piece of the Nexus key. And let's hope we're not too late." The Starweaver accelerated, its ancient engines pushing the boundaries of physics as they raced against time. Behind them, the Zenra fleet regrouped, and in the dark spaces between galaxies, something stirred, sensing that the seals containing it had begun to weaken. The real war was about to begin, and the fate of everything hung in the balance. The Andromeda Rift. The Andromeda Rift was a wound in space itself, a vast tear in reality that stretched across 3 light-years. As the Starweaver dropped out of hyperspace, the crew stared in awe at the swirling maelstrom of cosmic energies before them. "Multiple gravitational anomalies detected," Tanaka reported from his station. "The rift is generating temporal distortions. Navigation will be challenging." Through the neural interface, Thompson felt the Starweaver's systems adapting to the chaotic environment. The ship's quantum shields automatically reconfigured to protect against the time-warping effects of the rift. "I'm detecting a structure," Nora announced, studying her readings. "It appears to be a Precursor installation, but something's wrong. The energy signature is corrupted." Thompson accessed the tactical displays, and his blood ran cold. The Precursor facility was there, a massive space station half hidden in the rift's swirling energies. But dark tendrils of what looked like living shadows writhed around it, pulsing with an otherworldly rhythm. "The Void Harbingers," he muttered. "They're already here." "Impossible," Nora breathed. "The containment shouldn't have degraded this quickly unless..." Her voice trailed off as new data scrolled across her screen. "Admiral, the Zenra. They've been deliberately weakening the seals. Every world they've conquered, every system they've dominated, they're not just building an empire. They're systematically destroying the Precursor containment network." The revelation hit Thompson like a physical blow. The Zenra weren't just conquerors, they were servants of the Void Harbingers, working to free their masters from their ancient prison. "New contacts." Tanaka's warning cut through the tension. "Multiple Zenra signatures emerging from the rift. They've been waiting for us." The enemy fleet materialized from the swirling chaos, 5 cruisers and a massive battleship, their black hulls now adorned with writhing shadows similar to those surrounding the Precursor facility. "Their ships," Rodriguez observed from his station. "They've been corrupted." Thompson watched through the ship's sensors as the Zenra vessels moved with impossible grace, leaving trails of darkness in their wake. The Void Harbinger's influence had transformed them into something nightmarish. "All hands, battle stations," Thompson commanded. "Nora, I need you to analyze those shadow effects. Find a weakness. Tanaka, plot us a course through the gravitational anomalies. We need to reach that facility." The Starweaver surged forward, its ancient engines pulsing with power. The corrupted Zenra fleet moved to intercept, their weapons now firing beams of pure darkness that seemed to devour the light around them. Thompson engaged the neural interface fully, becoming one with the ship's combat systems. The Starweaver's quantum weapons lashed out, but the enemy vessels were different now. Where before their shields had failed against the Precursor technology, now the shadow-infused barriers absorbed the attacks. "Their defenses," Nora called out. "The Void Harbinger's influence is allowing them to adapt to our weapons." A blast from the enemy battleship caught the Starweaver's port side, and Thompson felt the impact through the neural link. The quantum shields held, but the shadow energy began to spread across them like a cancer. "Shields compromised," Tanaka reported. "The corruption is trying to penetrate our defenses." Thompson delved deeper into the ship's systems, searching for answers. Through the neural interface, he accessed previously locked sections of the Starweaver's database. What he found changed everything. Nora, reroute power to the quantum core, he ordered. The Starweaver isn't just a warship, it's a containment vessel itself. We can use its systems to purge the corruption. As Nora worked, Thompson initiated a sequence he'd discovered in the ship's memory. The Starweaver's hull began to glow with brilliant white light, its quantum field expanding outward. When the next shadow beam struck, instead of being absorbed, it was consumed by the light. "It's working!" Nora exclaimed. "The ship's quantum field is neutralizing the Void Harbinger corruption." Thompson pressed the advantage. The Starweaver's weapons, now infused with the same purifying energy, tore through the corrupted Zenra ships. One by one, the cruisers erupted in explosions of light and shadow. But the battle had cost them precious time. At the Precursor facility, the shadow tendrils had grown thicker, more numerous. The entire structure was nearly engulfed. "We need to dock with that station," Thompson said. "But we can't risk the ship being corrupted. Nora, you've studied Precursor technology more than anyone. I need you with me. Rodriguez, Volov, you're our security detail. Tanaka, keep the engines hot and the quantum field at maximum. If things go wrong, you get the ship out of here, understood?" "Aye, sir," Tanaka replied, though his voice was heavy with concern. The boarding team made their way to the airlock, each step bringing them closer to whatever horror awaited inside the facility. Thompson could feel the Starweaver's systems fighting against the encroaching darkness, but even its powerful quantum field couldn't completely shield them from the wrongness that permeated the area. "Remember," Thompson addressed his team, "we're looking for a component of the Nexus key. According to the ship's records, it should be in the facility's central core. We get in, we get the component, we get out. No heroics." The airlock cycled, and they stepped onto the Precursor station. The interior was a nightmare of twisted metal and living shadows. What had once been pristine corridors were now warped and distorted, as if reality itself was breaking down. Nora's scanner pulsed steadily. "The corruption is strongest near the core. That has to be where they're focusing their efforts to breach the containment." They moved carefully through the station, their weapons ready. Several times they encountered what appeared to be Zenra soldiers, but the creatures that attacked them were barely recognizable as such. The Void Harbinger's influence had transformed them into monstrous shadows of their former selves. As they approached the core, the corruption grew thicker, more aggressive. Tendrils of darkness reached for them, only to be repelled by their personal quantum shields, a technology Thompson had discovered in the Starweaver's armory. The central chamber was a vast spherical room dominated by a massive crystalline structure. Within it, something pulsed with both light and darkness, locked in an eternal struggle. "The Nexus key component," Nora breathed. "It's still intact, but barely. The containment field is failing." Before they could reach it, a figure stepped out of the shadows. It was a Zenra, but unlike any they'd seen before. Its armor was fused with its flesh, and its eyes burned with void-black flame. "You are too late," it spoke, its voice a chorus of whispers. "The seals weaken. Our masters stir. Soon, all will be unmade." "Admiral," Nora's voice was urgent. "That's not just a corrupted Zenra. It's being directly controlled by a Void Harbinger." The creature attacked with impossible speed, its form shifting between solid and shadow. Thompson and his team opened fire, but their weapons seemed to pass through it harmlessly. "The quantum shields!" Thompson shouted. "Overload them, create a feedback pulse." Understanding dawned in Nora's eyes. She quickly modified their shield generators while Rodriguez and Volov provided covering fire. The corrupted Zenra launched another attack, but this time they were ready. For quantum shields detonated simultaneously, creating a wave of purifying energy that caught the creature mid-strike. For a moment, its true form was revealed, a writhing mass of darkness shot through with dying stars. Then it screamed, a sound that existed in dimensions beyond human comprehension, and dissolved into nothingness. The component. Nora rushed to the crystal structure. The containment field is about to collapse. Thompson reached out, placing his hand on the crystal. Through his neural link with the Starweaver, he established a connection with the ancient device. Information flooded his mind, coordinates, security codes, and fragments of the Precursor's desperate last stand against the Void Harbingers. With Nora's help, they carefully extracted the Nexus key component. The moment it was removed, the corruption in the room seemed to intensify, as if enraged by their success. "Run!" Thompson ordered. They sprinted back through the disintegrating station, the shadows pursuing them like a living tide of darkness. Twice they had to stop and fight off more corrupted Zenra, but finally, they reached the airlock. "Tanaka, get us out of here," Thompson commanded the moment they were aboard. The Starweaver's engines roared to life, pulling them away from the doomed facility. Through the viewscreen, they watched as the station collapsed in on itself, consumed by the very forces it had been built to contain. But they had succeeded. The first component of the Nexus key was secured, its power already interfacing with the Starweaver's systems, making the ancient vessel even stronger. As they prepared to jump to hyperspace, Thompson studied the data he'd recovered. 3 more components remained, each hidden in facilities across the galaxy. And now they knew the true nature of their enemy, not just the Zenra Empire, but the Void Harbingers themselves. "Plot a course for the Maelstrom Nebula," he ordered. "The second component is hidden there. And this time, we'll be ready for them." The Starweaver vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind the Andromeda Rift and its swirling chaos. But as they fled, Thompson couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched by something vast and patient, something that had waited eons for this moment. The race to save not just Earth, but all of reality, had truly begun. Echoes of the Void. The Maelstrom Nebula lived up to its name. Vast clouds of ionized gas twisted through space in impossible patterns, lit by the death throes of a dozen dying stars. The Starweaver's quantum shields crackled continuously as they navigated through the cosmic storm. "The nebula's radiation is interfering with our long-range sensors," Tanaka reported. "If there are Zenra ships out there, we won't detect them until they're practically on top of us." Thompson felt the Nexus key component they'd retrieved pulsing in harmony with the Starweaver's systems. Its power had enhanced their capabilities, but it had also changed the ship in ways they didn't fully understand. New systems had come online, revealing glimpses of the Precursor's true technological mastery. "Admiral," Nora called out, her voice tense. "I've been analyzing the data we recovered from the Andromeda Rift facility. The Void Harbingers, they're not just entities of destruction. They're what's left of the universe that existed before ours." "Before ours?" Rodriguez asked from his security station. "How is that possible?" Nora's fingers danced across her holographic display. "According to these records, our universe was built on the ruins of the one that came before. The Precursors didn't just seal away the Void Harbingers, they sealed away the entropy of a dying reality. But now that entropy is leaking back in." A sudden alarm cut through their discussion. "Multiple quantum disruptions detected," Tanaka shouted. "Something's coming through." The space before them seemed to tear open, revealing not the familiar black holes of Zenra ships, but something far worse. Vessels of impossible geometry emerged from the rifts, their surfaces crawling with living darkness. They moved like predators, leaving trails of unlight in their wake. "Void Harbinger vessels," Thompson breathed. "They're not waiting for the Zenra anymore. They're taking direct action." The enemy ships opened fire, but instead of energy beams, they launched waves of pure entropy. Where they struck, space itself began to unravel. Thompson engaged the neural interface fully, becoming one with the Starweaver. The ship's enhanced quantum weapons lashed out, their power amplified by the Nexus key component. The first volley caught one of the Void Harbinger ship's dead center, and for a moment, reality seemed to hold its breath. The enemy vessel didn't explode, it unraveled, its impossible geometry collapsing in on itself until nothing remained but a quickly dissipating cloud of quantum particles. It worked! Nora exclaimed. The Nexus key component, it's not just a key, it's a weapon specifically designed to counter their entropy. But their victory was short-lived. The remaining Void Harbinger ships adapted quickly, their forms shifting and changing to present smaller targets. Their next attack came from multiple angles simultaneously, forcing Thompson to execute maneuvers that should have torn any normal ship apart. Hull integrity at 85%, Tanaka reported. The quantum shields are holding, but each hit is causing microscopic tears in the fabric of spacetime around us. Through the neural interface, Thompson accessed the Starweaver's most advanced systems. The ship's AI core, enhanced by the Nexus key component, revealed new tactical options. Without warning, the vessel split into multiple quantum echoes of itself, each one as solid and deadly as the original. The Void Harbinger ships hesitated, unable to determine which version of the Starweaver was real. Thompson used their confusion to launch a devastating counterattack. Each quantum echo fired simultaneously, their combined power overwhelming the enemy's defenses. But as the battle raged, something massive stirred in the heart of the nebula. The dying stars seemed to pulse in unison, and waves of darkness began to spread between them. "Admiral," Nora's voice was barely a whisper. "The second component, it's there, in the center of that formation. The Void Harbingers aren't just trying to destroy it. They're trying to corrupt it, to turn its power to their purpose." Thompson studied the tactical display, his mind racing. The Starweaver was powerful, but a direct assault would be suicide. They needed another approach. "Nora, what do we know about the nature of these entities?" he asked. "If they're from a previous universe, they must operate on different physical laws than ours." Understanding dawned in Nora's eyes. "Yes. Their power comes from entropy, from the breakdown of our reality's rules. But that means they're just as bound by their own rules as we are by ours," Thompson finished. "Tanaka, plot a course directly into that star formation. Rodriguez, Volov, prepare for emergency containment protocols." "Sir." Tanaka's voice was uncertain. "Those stars are about to go supernova. If we get caught in the blast." "Exactly," Thompson said. "The Void Harbingers feed on entropy, on the death of our universe. But too much energy, too much chaos even by their standards." The Starweaver's engines flared as they charged toward the dying stars. The Void Harbinger ships moved to intercept, but Thompson had anticipated this. Using the quantum echoes as a distraction, he executed a series of micro-jumps, each one bringing them closer to their goal. "Admiral!" Nora called out. "The stars, their decay rate is accelerating. The Void Harbingers are trying to trigger an early collapse." "Perfect," Thompson replied. Through the neural interface, he activated the Starweaver's most powerful system, one that had only become accessible after they acquired the first Nexus key component. The ship's quantum field expanded exponentially, creating a bubble of pure order in the chaos of the nebula. As the stars began to explode, their energy was caught and channeled by the Starweaver's field, creating a cascading reaction that even the Void Harbingers couldn't control. "Now!" Thompson commanded. The Starweaver dove into the heart of the maelstrom, its quantum shield straining against forces that could shatter planets. Through the neural interface, Thompson guided them with impossible precision, threading the needle between waves of stellar plasma and quantum instabilities. The Void Harbinger ships weren't so fortunate. Caught between their own entropy and the overwhelming energy of multiple supernovas, they began to break apart. Their impossible geometry collapsed, unable to maintain coherence in the face of such chaos. In the center of it all, protected by a failing containment field, floated the second Nexus key component. Its crystalline structure pulsed with the same rhythm as the one they'd already acquired, calling to its counterpart. Extending quantum tethers, Nora reported, her fingers flying across the controls. If we can match the containment field's frequency. A beam of pure light shot from the Starweaver's bow, connecting with the Nexus key component. For a moment, the entire nebula seemed to freeze as two pieces of the ancient weapon resonated together. Then everything happened at once. The stars exploded, the Void Harbinger ships disintegrated, and the Nexus key component was pulled safely aboard the Starweaver. Thompson engaged the hyperdrive before the shockwave could reach them, and the ship vanished into the safety of hyperspace. As the adrenaline of battle faded, Thompson studied the two Nexus key components, now pulsing in perfect synchronization. Their power had further transformed the Starweaver, unlocking new systems and capabilities they had yet to fully understand. But time was running out. The Void Harbinger's direct intervention proved they were growing desperate, or confident. Two components remained, and somewhere out there, the Zenra fleet was still advancing toward Earth. Plot a course for the Quantum Veil, Thompson ordered. The third component will be the hardest to reach, and after what happened here, we can expect both the Zenra and the Void Harbingers to be waiting for us. The Starweaver streaked through hyperspace, its systems humming with the power of two Nexus key components. But in the spaces between spaces, in the void where reality broke down, ancient eyes watched their progress with growing concern. The game was changing, the players adapting, and the true battle for existence itself was about to begin. The final stand. The quantum veil shimmered before them like a curtain of starlight, marking the boundary between normal space and something far stranger. With two Nexus key components pulsing in harmony, the Starweaver's sensors penetrated deeper into the anomaly than any ship had ever managed before. Multiple contacts, Tanaka reported grimly. Both Zenra and Void Harbinger vessels. They've formed a blockade around the third component's location. Through the neural interface, Thompson studied the tactical display. Dozens of corrupted Zenra ships surrounded a massive installation that seemed to phase in and out of reality. Behind them lurked three Void Harbinger dreadnoughts, their impossible geometries casting shadows that shouldn't exist. "Admiral," Nora called out urgently. "Emergency transmission from Alliance Command. The Zenra fleet has begun its final push toward Earth. Our remaining defenses won't hold for more than 48 hours. Thompson's jaw clenched. They were out of time. "Show me the message." A holographic display materialized, showing the haggard face of Admiral Chen. "Thompson, if you're receiving this, we need you back at Earth immediately. The Zenra, they're different now. Their ships are wrapped in living darkness. Our weapons pass right through them." The transmission cut off in static. "The Void Harbingers have corrupted the entire Zenra fleet," Rodriguez said, his voice heavy. "Earth doesn't stand a chance against that kind of power." "No," Thompson replied, his voice firm. "This is exactly what they want, to force us to choose between saving Earth and completing the Nexus key. But we're not choosing. We're doing both." Through his neural link with the Starweaver, Thompson activated systems that had only become accessible after acquiring the second component. The ship's quantum field expanded, creating multiple stable time dilation bubbles around the vessel. "The Precursors built this ship to be the ultimate weapon against the Void Harbingers," he explained. "And part of that meant being able to fight in multiple places at once." Understanding dawned in Nora's eyes. "Quantum entanglement on a macro scale. You're going to split the ship?" Thompson nodded. "The Starweaver exists in a state of quantum superposition. With the power of two Nexus key components, we can maintain that split long enough to complete both missions." "But sir," Tanaka protested, "the strain on the ship's systems will be immense," Thompson finished. "That's why I'm not splitting the ship evenly. Nora, you'll take command of a quantum echo of the Starweaver, along with Tanaka and half the crew. Return to Earth and hold the line against the Zenra. The Echo will have about 30% of our total power, enough to match any ship in their fleet. What about the other 70%? Rodriguez asked. That stays with us. We're going after the third component. The Void Harbingers won't expect us to try both missions simultaneously. We can use that surprise to our advantage. The plan was dangerous, potentially suicidal, but they were out of options. The crew moved quickly to their assigned positions as Thompson initiated the quantum split. There was a moment of disorientation as space itself seemed to twist, and then where one Starweaver had been, there were two. Good hunting, Admiral, Nora's voice came through the comm as her version of the ship prepared to jump to Earth. We'll buy you as much time as we can. Just keep Earth safe, Thompson replied. We'll be there as soon as we can. As Nora's ship vanished into hyperspace, Thompson turned his attention to the quantum veil. The combined Zenra and Void Harbinger fleet had detected their presence and was moving to intercept. All hands, battle stations, he commanded. Rodriguez, Volov, I need you monitoring the quantum core. If its stability drops below 60%, we'll start losing structural cohesion. The Starweaver surged forward, its enhanced weapon systems coming online. The first volley caught the enemy fleet by surprise, quantum-tipped missiles phasing through conventional shields to strike directly at corrupted hull plating. But the Void Harbinger dreadnoughts responded with overwhelming force. Beams of pure entropy lashed out, attempting to unravel the very fabric of the Starweaver's existence. Only the combined power of two Nexus key components kept them intact. Thompson pushed deeper into the neural interface than ever before, letting the ship's combat AI merge completely with his consciousness. The Starweaver moved like a living thing, dancing between enemy attacks while striking back with devastating precision. Sir! Rodriguez called out. The quantum core is fluctuating. The time dilation effect from the Void Harbinger's weapons is causing interference. Through the ship's sensors, Thompson could see what was happening. The enemy wasn't just trying to destroy them, they were trying to disrupt the quantum entanglement keeping their split timeline stable. If they succeeded, the echo protecting Earth would collapse. With grim determination, Thompson activated the Starweaver's most powerful weapon, one they hadn't dared use before. The two Nexus key components pulsed in unison, channeling energy that didn't belong in their universe. Reality itself buckled around them as a beam of pure quantum potential lashed out. The effect was devastating. Two Void Harbinger dreadnoughts were caught in the blast, their impossible geometries shattering as they were forced to conform to the laws of our universe. The corrupted Zenra ships near them simply ceased to exist, erased from reality itself. But the attack had cost them dearly. The Starweaver's quantum core temperature spiked dangerously, and warning alarms blared throughout the ship. They had minutes at most before the systems overloaded. There. Thompson spotted their objective through the chaos of battle. The third component pulsed with familiar energy, calling to its counterparts aboard the Starweaver. But reaching it meant going through the heart of the enemy fleet and the remaining Void Harbinger dreadnought. Thompson made his decision. Rodriguez, Volov, divert all power to the quantum drive. We're going to phase through them. Sir, at that power level, we'll be completely vulnerable once we rematerialize. Then we better not miss. The Starweaver's form became translucent as Thompson pushed their quantum state to the extreme. They passed through the enemy fleet like ghosts, weapons fire passing harmlessly through their insubstantial form. For a moment, they existed in a state between realities, and Thompson glimpsed something through the neural interface, a vast darkness between universes, filled with the dying remnants of countless realities. The Void Harbinger's true home. Then they rematerialized beside the third component just as their quantum core reached critical levels. Thompson established a tether beam instantly, drawing the ancient artifact toward them. But the Void Harbinger dreadnought was waiting. It fired its main weapon, not at the Starweaver, but at the component itself. Time seemed to slow as Thompson watched entropy and quantum potential race toward their goal. In desperation, he reached out through the neural interface, connecting not just with the ship but with the Nexus key components themselves. In that moment of connection, he understood their true purpose. They weren't just weapons or keys, they were fragments of the fundamental forces that shaped reality itself. Thompson let their power flow through him, through the ship, and out into space. A shield of pure creation energy formed around the third component, protecting it from the entropy beam. When the two forces met, the resulting explosion tore a hole in spacetime itself. The Starweaver's quantum tether held, pulling the component to safety even as the ship's systems began to fail. The last thing Thompson saw before engaging emergency hyperspace was the Void Harbinger dreadnought being drawn into the rift they'd created, its impossible form finally succumbing to the laws of physics. As they streaked through hyperspace toward Earth, Thompson fought to keep the ship together. The quantum core was barely stable, their weapons were depleted, and maintaining the timeline split was taking every ounce of power they had left. But they had done it. 3 components of the Nexus key were now united, their combined power transforming the Starweaver into something beyond even the Precursor's original design. And they would need every bit of that power for what came next. Through the quantum link, Thompson could sense the echo of his ship fighting desperately above Earth. Nora and her crew had bloodied the Zenra fleet, but they were slowly being overwhelmed by the corrupted forces. "Hold on," he whispered, pushing the engines beyond their safety limits. "We're coming." The fate of 2 battles, of Earth itself, and of all reality hung in the balance. The next few hours would determine whether the universe ended in darkness or light. And as the Starweaver raced toward its final confrontation, Thompson knew that everything, the discovery of the ship, the collection of the components, even the evolution of humanity itself, had been leading to this moment. The true purpose of the Starweaver was about to be revealed, and with it, the ultimate destiny of life itself.